Good morning. Today's gospel gives us this beautiful story that we all know, the healing of the blind man. And notice that he is not just blind. John tells us he was blind from birth. So in this encounter today with Jesus, it will be the first time that he will be able to see. So magnificent. Now he encounters Jesus, who comes to him with rescue, with help. And this is how John tells us the story. Jesus said, "While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva and smeared the clay on the eyes of the blind man and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed and came back able to see. That's how the story starts. But notice that the blind man allows Jesus to help him. And that can be sometimes challenging in our lives, to allow somebody to help us. It takes courage on some level. Now the blind man listens to the instructions of Jesus, does what he is told to do. And because he listened and did what he was supposed to do, he was healed. Now the Pharisees, when they look at the whole picture, they see a problem. They accuse Jesus to be a sinner because he did it on the Sabbath. Now the blind man says to the Pharisees point blank, with honesty, he says this: "If he is a sinner, I do not know. One thing I know is that I was blind, but now I can see." So they said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" And the blind man said to him, "I told you, but you did not listen." This is the second time he has to explain himself. They don't want to hear what he has to say. But what the blind man says is very simple. "This man helped me. That much I know. I was blind, but now I can see." Notice that he speaks from experience. And he cannot deny what happened to him. It's like when God touches you in your life with his healing power or with his grace, and you know deep down that you have been touched by God, you cannot deny that. You know it on a completely different level. And that's what's happening here. But I would also suggest that this story is not just about the blind man receiving physical ability to see, though it is. I would suggest that the blind man also gains insight not just sight, insight into who Jesus is. Though it is going to take him a little bit of time to figure it out as the story unfolds. Notice at first he describes Jesus as the man who healed me, because that's his experience, isn't it? And John tells us, he replied, "The man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and told me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went there and washed, and I was able to see." So he has the first experience of Jesus is that of healer, a physician. But now his insight grows. He then describes Jesus as a prophet. When the Pharisees question him, "What do you have to say about him?" the Pharisees say to him, "since he opened your eyes." He said, "He is a prophet." And finally, at the end of the story, he calls Jesus Lord when he speaks directly with Jesus. John tells us, he said, "I do believe, Lord." And then John adds this one little detail. "And he worshiped him." Now, in the Old Testament, who do you worship? There's only one person you worship: God. So that's who Jesus is. Now, Thomas, after the resurrection, will make the same confession. Remember the story? He was not in the upper room. Then he wants to see the wounds of Jesus. Finally, he's able to touch Jesus' wounds. And he says to him, "My Lord and my God." That's what we have here in this story. That's what the blind man is able to see. So again, the blind man's insight grows, and who Jesus is becomes more clear. First, he sees him as healer, then as a prophet, and finally, by the end of the story, as Lord and God, who is worthy to be worshipped. So the story is not just about receiving physical sight. That's only the beginning. It's about him gaining insight into who Jesus is. So as the story unfolds, the blind man grows in his understanding of Jesus, while the Pharisees grow in their misunderstanding of Jesus. They continue to get it wrong. And John tells us, and here in this particular part of the story, the blind man is sort of puzzled. As if to say to himself, "I just don't know why you guys are not getting this. Why is it that you cannot see it?" Look what he says. "This is what is so amazing, that you do not know where he is from, yet he opened my eyes. It is unheard of that anyone ever opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he would not be able to do anything." They answered and said to him, "You were born totally in sin, And are you trying to teach us? Then they threw him out. So basically, they say to him, who do you think you are to teach us? Who do you think you are to lecture us? So they throw him out. Notice Jesus never throws anyone out, with exception to the temple, but otherwise never. He always brings in. But again, he cannot deny what happened to him. I was blind, now I can see. So again, the blind man gains deeper and greater insight, while the Pharisees become more blind. And that's the great irony of the story. And if you know the Gospel of John, John loves to use irony. That's how he wants to teach us. Because irony kind of gets your attention. It sticks with you. That's why he uses irony throughout the entire Gospel. But at the end of the day, what is that this Gospel may be inviting us to do this Lent? See, Lent is a perfect time to just deepen our relationship with Christ, to deepen our insight into who Christ is for you personally. It's just a perfect time. And when you think about it, we are all catechumens. We never stop the journey of deepening our relationship, of learning more, of gaining greater insights. We are all catechumens, called to deepen our understanding and insight into who Christ is, but also to pay attention to our own misconceptions of who Christ is. Because, my friends, we all have them as well. We are not immune to misconceptions. So again, maybe that is the invitation for all of us as we continue our journey through Lent.